Hello, it's great to be back here, and I'm happy to see a lot of really young people in the audience. Um, my parents were actually a little younger than you guys when Ghana saw independence, so that means they are literally older than Ghana, and they lived through some of the most turbulent times in Ghana's history. There was the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah, there were coups, there were famine, and long stretches of military rule, and a lot of uncertainty that came with every transition. However, in spite of all those uncertainties, there was a simple script for life. Go to school, do well in school, get a good job, and your future is secure. And this became a pattern that resonated through our history. It was in no way a perfect pattern, but it was predictable, and the predictability was very rewarding for everybody who followed it. But something happened in my family that would break that pattern for me, and it all started in 1998. My brother David had just turned 8 years, and of all the things my parents could have bought him for a present, they decided to buy him a computer in 1998. Most of you now have gadgets so available to you that this might seem like a trivial thing. But in 1998, this was a very absurd thing to do because you just casually couldn't buy computers for your kids. And my brother David did what all big brothers know how to do: show off. Little games, some scripts here, shortcuts, how to do really cool things with a computer. And he did a really good job of telling me what a computer wasn't. Oh, it's not a toy, Barnabas. I don't get toys for birthday presents. But he never told me what a computer was. And in hindsight, it looks more as if we were handed a portal that responded a lot to experimentation and was only limited by your skill and your abilities and your imagination. And my parents didn't know it at the time, but my brother's influence really ensured that I was growing up in a Ghana that was totally different from what my mates were experiencing. A place where the old script still existed, but the world in which it was intended to function was no longer available. Now you look at really young, brilliant graduates who struggle to find jobs, who do not even have the agency to go build their own companies. Young guys are trying a lot of things and doing the best they possibly can and still seeing no results. And it's not because they are lazy or they lack ambition or they are not serious. It's just that the scripts that worked, even through coups and famines, do not work anymore in their reality. And it's something that I also struggled with at a point in my life. I started to realize that my world was advancing very fast, but the systems built to shape me were not catching up. I mean, at the time I didn't because I was a kid, but in hindsight, a lot of signs were there. For example, in elementary school, a lot of my teachers said I was very troublesome and irritating and restless. There were even some recommended remedies to normalize me as a kid. I'm glad my dad didn't listen to that. I mean, he also dabbled in psychology a bit, and he surmised that, oh, my kid is just bored, because I come home to a very accelerated experimentation environment, but then I'm back in school, and the system is so relaxed and calm, and I didn't know how to exist in such an environment, because, I mean, he also did some interesting things, like changing all the breakers in the house, because he feared I'll electrocute myself one day doing an experiment. But these things still happened, and the truth is, our institutions are built on the old script because it's stable. Think about it. Industries evolve so rapidly that you'd have to keep building curricula over and over and over again, and people would give you advice, very well-meaning people, but it's really from their own experiences in the past. And a lot of you are privileged to be alive in a time when we've seen so many cool things happen that we thought were incomprehensible. And so we cannot fault our elders and the institutions too much because they are doing the best that was given to them. But what we can do, though, however, is in this rapidly changing environment, we can build our own compass that will allow us to navigate this very well. How do we go about building our own compass? Well, of course, we do have a whole generation of young people who you can say are overly advised but under-resourced. We have a lot of opinions and ideas for what young people should do with their lives. I am even guilty of that, being here telling you what to do with your life. And very few tools or opportunities to seize that. So if there's anything that you could pick up from this, is that you have to build life on your own terms sometimes. But when you start out with zero experience, right? You haven't made any mistakes, you haven't done anything, you're a blank slate, and you may not know how to navigate. So I have a very simple solution for you. It might sound irresponsible, but stay with me through it. Find somebody to pay for your mistakes. So what do I mean by finding someone to pay for your mistakes? A lot of you are in university now, right? So if you spend like the whole night in college, who pays the electricity bill? Well, I mean, your parents pay fees, but the school still pays the bill, right? And so the goal is that now that you are in a very comfortable environment, try to leverage that comfort to build yourself up so you can make a lot of mistakes. Because now, if you make a mistake, it doesn't really affect you very much, right? For example, maybe you leave a machine running all night. Don't do that. But the school pays the bill, right? If you did that at home, you might either be thrown out, or if you live on your own, ECG would have very serious issues with you, right? So I say this to say you are in an environment where the penalty for mistakes, unless you do something very diabolical, is very low. And oftentimes we tell people to go solve problems, but a lot of people genuinely want to solve problems and don't know where to start. So there's a very simple metric I want to share with you guys. Start by solving your own curiosities, right? Because you know what's alive inside of you. You know the internal signals that you're receiving, what excites you, what gets you going, what upsets you. And if you can do that, you'll be able to be guided by curiosity to start solving the things that you find interesting. The really cool thing about this is, if you do this enough times, you start to become competent. And in exchange, the competent will start to fuel your confidence, and you can say, well, now I want to go on and tackle the world, right? Another way to let somebody pay for your mistakes is to find a mentor. But let's be real. If we all ask people who their mentors are, everyone will start talking about some very high achiever in a very niche field who might not have the bandwidth to respond to everybody, right? So the easiest way to get a mentor is, if that's the person you need, you have to ensure they have no other way of getting by without seeing you. For example, your boss at the office. It's not up to him not to see you. So that might be somebody you can start off with and start talking to. Now the thing is, do not necessarily go ask people how to live your life. The goal is go ask them for advice that can enable you to live life the way that you want. And if you can do that, you can stay guided by curiosity. And if you live by these principles, you start to realize there are a lot of people like you, right? And I call it, you are becoming more of a madman in the world. And you start to find that there are so many people who are united in madness. Now think about this. Since our childhood, we are always told stories about heroes who go out to do something great, capturing a monster, slaying a dragon. And if there's anything that is shared across, is that they never do it alone, right? I mean, there are instances where people are overly exaggerated, but oftentimes they never do it alone. And the reason is that when you start doing something that explores your curiosity, other people find it interesting and they find it inspiring. Practically, the first 10 people I hired at my company are all people that I used to work with in school. We were doing a lot of projects together. Like in my introduction, there are some really nice things that were said about me. When I meet with my friends in a bar or something, we always have jokes about so many projects that we feel that never worked, that never saw the light of day, that we were maybe not competent to do. But that's just an internal secret, and nobody would ever know. Now, don't go applying some of the things I'm telling you to some fields. For example, if you are trying to be a surgeon, don't cut someone open before you start Googling, where do I find the left ventricle, all right? Because it's game over. So in certain fields, you do not want to do this, but largely, you can apply this to so many things in your life. Now, what's the essence of what I'm trying to tell you? What I'm really trying to tell you is something that a lot of our speakers have also told you today, and it's that we are going to inherit from the previous generation. I do not fault a lot of them so much. There are people who are now first time in leading a country by making mistakes on their job, and it's costly. People's lives are at stake. But we all have a chance not to repeat some of those things. And whether they've done a good job or not, it doesn't matter, because they may be long gone when we inherit the world. And what that means is that we need to have a lot of agency now to be able to live life and dictate life on our own terms. What is something that you've put aside for a long time? Or something that you've spent a long time saying, oh, I want to learn all these things in the world before I start? Because there's no better time than now to start anything that you want to do. Start, fail, refine, proceed. Get as much advice as possible, but also try to filter all the advice that you get. And the important thing is, it doesn't matter now, because you also have a lot of things doing, like school. You can't drop out right now and be independent, so it's clearly a priority. But while you're doing all of those things, try and make sure you are failing at a lot of things as well, so you can build a very strong compass. So some of us might say we are waiting for a blueprint to lead the world or do something. But I'm just here to tell you, we are the ones we have been waiting for. Thank you all.